Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners, and Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys from Canada, you know we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no way we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September the 6th, 2018, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, going into the second week of real college football, Charlton, one of the sad days in this sport. Florida State lost its opening game to Virginia Tech, and they also lost it one of their most heralded alumnus today, Charlton. Burt Reynolds passed away today at the age of 82. Highly touted running back when he was at Florida State, also played defensive back, room with Lee Corso, an ESPN game day announcer, Charlton. Just a great, iconic American figure. A lot of people remember him from the Smokey and the Bandit series, Charlton, Cannonball Run, the movie Deliverance. A big breakout director role in Boogie Nights is also with an appearance in that movie, Charlton. But Burt Reynolds, an American icon, actor, and sports figure, passed away today at the age of 82. A lot of sorrow left down here in the South.
That's shocking to hear that. I don't think a lot of young people realize how great he was. He was in his movies. He was funny, and again, of course, our condolences to his family and all the people that he made laugh. Not only, as you mentioned, a great athlete, played for the Seminoles, a great actor. I think when I was a little boy, one of the many things that Burt Reynolds did, I still remember that movie, the Smokey and the Bandit. In that role, he was the bandit. And not only was he the bandit, he made you laugh, especially he and the late Jackie Gleason, how he had that Pontiac Firebird, and I still don't know how this day, with all the car companies doing throwbacks, that someone hasn't come up with a throwback Pontiac Grand Am, the Trans Am with the Firebird, that little bird they had painted on top of the hood. I thought he made that an iconic figure for American cars. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he did, Charlton. Unfortunately, Pontiac has gone out of business, so, a replica of that car most likely will never come along. But he also had a great sports movie, Charlton, called The Longest Yard, where, it was the cons against the guards. There was a remake done years later with Adam Sandler, but just a poignant movie to show the heart of athletes, regardless of where you are, whether you have your freedom or whether you're incarcerated, the competitive nature of people, Charlton. And in that starring role that he had in that movie, Charlton, and so many other great actors that were in that movie with him. But Burt Reynolds was to be sorely missed. He also was one of the first male centerfolds ever.
Oh, really?
There was a time in life where there were two iconic figures in America. There was Burt Reynolds and there was Hugh Hefner.
Yep.
And both of those guys were at awe by most men and young boys in America for what they had access to, Charles. But Burt Reynolds, you think about how he was as an individual to go out and do the first male centerfold in a magazine.
Yep.
Just a person who just everyone wanted to idolize. It was a male in America at that time.
Yeah, I think that, and also when you talk about the men, I think a lot of women, they love the Burt Reynolds look. He was kind of that bad boy, and he was someone that, again, he made you laugh. I still remember that scene, and he's done so many, but when he sat down next to the late Jackie Gleason in a restaurant, and he said something about, Sheriff, you got something on your burger? He said, burger? There's something about chasing bank robbers, or the squat diddly. You know how you good old boys talk down south. I couldn't remember it, but I remember I was laughing so hard. And he said, this guy make bank robbers look like Tilly Squid or something of that nature, Big C. But I just remember how Burt, race cars, you think about the track down south where everyone wants to go out and drive, and we think about all of the people that put a lot of time and energy into NASCAR, especially down south. Well, when he raced that Pontiac, that Firebird Trans Am, it reminded me of watching NASCAR on TV, because I think that was kind of a tribute to them good old boys that you couldn't catch them. and a lot that you two had in common. He was also, getting away with stuff in the middle of the night. Your thoughts as far as libations?
When you think about having fun, he was a man that wanted to be a boy.
Yep.
Who had that youthful enthusiasm about him, Charlton. And that's one of the greatest things about living your youth as an adult.
Enjoy it.
I hear it from my daughter all the time. You need to grow up. Dad.
Yep.
I even hear it from my mother.
Yep.
Who was very elderly. You need to grow up. Stop acting like a kid.
Yeah.
And that's something you never want to let go of, Charlton.
Yeah.
You think about the youth that you can enjoy as an adult, and you can go back and reminisce about things you did when you were young, and think about the stuff that made you feel good. And
yeah.
And then you got in trouble for it, or you didn't get in trouble for it. You got away.
Yeah.
But growing up, we're all going to do that to some stage in life, to some degree.
Yep.
But to hold on to that youthful enthusiasm, you can ask anybody, and everybody thinks back to a point when they were a child and something that they had fun with, something that they, they memorize and they hold dear to their heart.
Yep.
And it keeps them jovial at any time that they think about it, Charlton. That's what Burt Reynolds was.
Yeah.
He lived life to the fullest as an entertainer, as an actor, as an athlete. And so I don't think that he had many regrets in life, Charlton, other than just enjoying himself.
I think it's more about how you live as opposed to how long you live. Just being grateful. I think the man has always made me laugh. And of all the great movies, I still think Smokey and the Bandit, because I thought, are my parents really letting me watch this guy? It was Jackie Gleason in the way Burt always played like the innocent guy. I think it was Sally Fields in the car, and I don't know why she had her foot up on the dashboard. That tells you the car wasn't his. You could not put your foot on a man's Pontiac Firebird Trans Am and have your feet up in the car, even if you were Sally Fields. But again, to the Burt Reynolds families, may he keep driving that Firebird into infamy. I tell you, what a man that made a lot of people laugh. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. So when I think about what you just mentioned about Burt Reynolds, and there's a lot of things happening in sports. Of course, NFL starts tonight. But I want to just throw one more thought back to something that Burt Reynolds did. And that's as a young African-American man growing up, or African-American boy growing up, oftentimes you have to look long and hard to find people on TV that look like you. And sometimes there was Billy D. Williams, or, there were several other guys every now and then that would see Portier that would make it on the big screen. But whenever I watched Burt Reynolds in a movie, I never felt like he was a Caucasian guy. I felt like he was just a cool guy. I felt like whether you're black or brown or Asian, Hispanic, doesn't matter. You felt like you could relate to him because he was funny and he made people laugh. And that's one of the things that I will always remember. I know it's a sad time for his family, but like you said earlier, it's how you live, not how long you live. And the man did a lot of great things. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, one of the greatest lines that were ever resonated by him and a co-actor on a show came on Saturday Night Live to me, Charlton. He did a skit with Garrett Morris where they were sitting in a barbershop.
Yeah.
And Garrett Morris was reminding him that he was the highest grossing actor in Hollywood, and he had been there for 3 consecutive years.
Yep.
And he had never been nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
And Garrett used a pseudonym, but he told me, you must be the minority of Hollywood.
Yeah.
And Burt looked at him and said, damn.
He never thought of it that way. Yep. There are times when he was on, Carson, Johnny Carson. Just a lot of good things. It reminds me, go out and live your life. There's so many people, they're waiting for tomorrow. They're waiting for that next perfect day. Or they got to do the play right. It has to be the right way. They got to wait for the right time to make a stance for something. They got to always hope it'll be tomorrow. And there's sometimes tomorrow's today. And sometimes tomorrow never comes. But Burt, he lived a lot of his tomorrows that day. He got the most out of life. I'm just grateful I was a young man able to see how talented his work was over the years, Big C. I do want to say a little bit about the NFL, obviously tipping off tonight or kicking off tonight. I believe the 99th season of the NFL. And Big C, you've seen so many seasons, college football, NFL football. What matters to you most? I know you probably roasted that pig for about 3 days. I feel it might be charcoal. It might be beef jerky by the time, or pork jerky by the time you can eat it. But other than the tailgating, what comes to mind that makes you happy this time of year, Big C?
Well, Charlton, hopefully it will quiet a lot of the naysayers that are out there, Charlton, all the controversies that go on, and you know, we can finally get to football. We have so much about the flag. We have so much about concussions. We have so much about tackling in different ways, Charlton. And now we have so much about advertising.
Yeah.
You know, it's about playing the game. We got players talking about players and you know, being mad that certain players haven't showed up with the trades and all these things that have gone on.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to see somebody go out there and crack somebody. That's the bottom line, Charlton.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they get a flag or not, you want to go out there and see somebody just lay the wood to somebody. This is what football is all about. I mean, you ask any fan who buys a ticket for a game. You ask anybody who buys a programming package to watch the game, Charlton. Do they tune in to watch the national anthem, or
No.
they tune in to watch grown men beat the crap out of each other?
I think that's true.
You got to be realistic about the game of football. This is about gladiators. This is about violence. This is what the game is all about. That's what makes grown men and little boys feel good.
Yeah.
Is the violence of the game, not the pageantry. You know, you sit in the locker room, the bands are out there playing and all that, the cheerleaders are jumping around.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
you're doing is thinking about your opponent as a player. And even the fans who tune into a game. You tell me 2 hours into the game that a fan remembers the national anthem, Charlton?
No.
No, they don't. Do they remember any player taking a knee or holding a fist in the air or anything? They don't, Charlton. The game is about the game, and I wish that so many of these broadcasters and pundits out there, Charlton, would stop talking about everything but the game.
Yeah.
But everybody's trying to create a story that's not relevant to the facts. What happens once the tip-off starts, the kickoff starts,
Yeah.
Charlton.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
I tell you what, you think about 99 years of anything, that's a long time. And the fact that football is so big that it can unite our country to have dialogue. For people who say no one's watching and the game, the ratings are going down, that's called fake news. I gotta respect the word fake news now when it's appropriately used, but that's fake news. Everybody cares. There's one more thing on that. If you ever do something wrong, sometimes all your parents do is say, "Hey, apologize, atone, and do it right. You know, don't do it again." And I thought the league dropped the ball a long time ago when this first happened. They should have stood on the side of right, and they should have talked to the players and found out what they were thinking, as opposed to go for that corporate anti-American garbage. That was never the case. So they got egg on their face now, because the truth, the truth stayed consistent, but the lies changed a lot. Now even they're saying, well, we got to give our players a platform. But they had the opportunity, and they turned their back on the players that made them multi-billionaires. Tonight, the Falcons versus the Eagles in a matchup of two of the biggest, most tastiest birds in the universe, Big C. I understand. Do you prefer falcon or bird when you go out hunting, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I prefer the one with the most meat on it. You know,
Yeah.
Falcon's a little thin little bird. You know, he's a big hefty fella.
Yeah.
They're about the size of a turkey. I mean, you get a full meal out of him. You know, but what's amazing about the game tonight, Charlton? We know that Carson Wentz is not slated to stay, not slated to play, rather.
Yeah.
And your buddy Protus is having one of his rallies up in North Dakota. I don't
Yeah.
know if he realized that Carson Wentz was from North Dakota.
Exactly.
And all of those people are Eagles fans. So
Yeah.
when he goes up there and starts talking anti-NFL, okay,
Yep.
he's knocking, their homeboy.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, the iconic, national hero. He's like the state bird of North Dakota. So,
Yeah.
I wonder if Protus really understood where he was going tonight to do his little yo-yo spiel.
Well,
But, what's exciting about the game tonight, Charlton, is you got the kickoff.
Yeah.
You got the last two NFC champions, Charlton, the last two NFC representatives in the Super Bowl facing off tonight. Charlton, one of these teams will get off to a marvelous start, and the other team will be sitting around looking. The team that can least afford to lose, though,
Yeah.
is the Falcons. Because they're in probably the hottest division in the NFC, Charlton.
Yeah.
With Carolina, New Orleans, and Tampa in that same division. Philadelphia would not be under that same struggle. Second best team in the division, Charlton's
Yeah.
going to be Dallas, and they have no receivers. After that, it's a toss-up between, and most likely Washington, and you got the Giants bringing up the tail end of that division, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what you look for when you get the last two champs of a division facing off in a season opener, Charlton. What more could you ask? And the last time they met, Charlton, Philadelphia scored the last 9 points of the game and propelled them off into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The biggest tangible tonight, Charlton, is how will the teams function in the red zone. That's what's going to be important, because the last time they met, the Falcons in the red zone found themselves kicking field goals with Bryant.
Yeah.
If they expect to win, they're going to have to be able to punch it in. They got this high-powered receiving core with Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and now the rookie Ridley, Charlton. So Matt Ryan, $155 million, Charlton, I expect to see 4 touchdown passes from him.
Well, sometimes you got to wait a couple of weeks to see 4, Big C, but he might get a 1 or 2. But I also want to I got to bring up this thought, because I want to say Big C Sports sponsored by Nike. Phil Knight giving money to every cause out there in the universe, and also to even mention Nike on the program and what they're doing. So I guess all day, free advertisement. And I think the thing that makes America great, Big C, is we're not all supposed to agree. We're all supposed to have disagreements, civil disagreements, not where we have to demonize somebody for having a different color uniform or a different color skin or different beliefs. And I think whether Nike intends this or not, just do it. It's also about what Aretha Franklin talked about, respect. Respect someone who has a difference of opinion. When I look at the athletes that line up, they all want one thing, actually 2 things. They want the money, and they want the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the season. Everybody's going to get the money, but only one will get the Lombardi Trophy. When Nike has that slogan, just do it, it's not just to the football players, it's to everybody in life. No matter what you're facing, no matter what you're up against, just get up and do it. Part of doing anything is showing up, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, do you realize, Charlton, that Nike sells more apparel to non-athletes than they do to athletes?
Of course.
That's what people don't really understand. So when they sit there and think that Nike's just backing the NFL, no, Nike is targeting their base. They're targeting their merchandise buyers.
Yep.
That's what Nike is doing, telling them to just do it. You know, I've seen some of these negative little commercials and campaigns on television, Charlton, people burning shoes. Those shoes look like they might have been from the 80s or the 90s. They found those shoes somewhere to go to the store and went out and burned them up.
Yeah.
Nike has shoes that cost over $5,000. This is some signature shoes.
Wow.
Nobody said any of those on.
No, they're not burning those.
It's very easy to go out and pay $200-300 for certain brands of Nike shoes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, some of the North Carolina football players were suspended this season. I think about a dozen of them were suspended for selling these signature Nike shoes.
Yeah.
That were worth up to a couple $1,000s a pair.
Wow.
So when you talk about Nike and its value and who they target as their core, the people that were saying, well, I'm not going to buy Nike product anymore, Charlton, I don't know if they understand what intelligence is, okay?
Yeah.
They need to see all the shoe brands that Nike owns.
Yep.
Nike owns more than Nike. There are only 4 sneaker companies in the entire world, Charlton.
Yeah.
4. So when you go out and you buy a pair of these shoe companies, shoes, Charlton, the name brands are Nike,
right,
Adidas, Under Armour, and Puma. But they own everybody else, Charlton.
Yeah.
So when you sit there and say, I'm not buying Nike anymore, Nike probably owns 13 sneaker brands. Okay?
Yeah.
So be careful when you say you're not going to buy Nike product anymore, because Nike has surnames and subsidiaries that they sell under, Charlton.
It's like when a little kid, you talked about football making you feel like a little kid. I remember a couple times when I was a little boy, and I didn't know, we didn't have the frontal lobe that we learned about in high school, but I remember sometimes getting mad at my mom for being disciplined, and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to hold my breath. I'll teach you. And she said, okay. It's like I was expecting her to say, no, baby, don't hold your breath. But Mom in her wisdom said, okay. So you hold your breath maybe 30, 35, 40 seconds till you start changing colors. You always take another breath in, Big C. And like people saying, I'm not going to buy Nike again. It's like I'm not going to breathe again. To prove a point to who, it doesn't make any sense. If they really have a care for people, don't burn the tennis shoe. Go give it to a shelter. There are a lot of people that need some shoes. And if you really have a heart for people, then go give those shoes that you're burning to a shelter. I think that make a lot more sense with their time, Big C. I want to just get your thoughts on a few things also. We know tonight's contest should be fantastic, but when you think about some of the top 10 teams in the NFL, would you say maybe Jacksonville should be right around, 10 is kind of low for a team that made the AFC Championship game last year, but if you put them at 10, Why would they not be in higher than 10? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, inconsistency. This is a team that at times throughout the season, Charlton, just was not consistent in scoring. And when you look at the division that they're in, Charlton, you got Tennessee and you have Houston in that division.
Yeah.
Houston is a much improved team. Once they lost to Deshaun Watson, Charlton, they didn't, show much toughness in that team offensively.
Yeah.
When Mariota went down also, but they challenged Jacksonville for the division.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville, if they stay tough, but, you think about they lost Marquise Lee, they lost Mercedes Lewis at tight end, Charlton.
Yeah.
So they have some holes that they have to fill offensively. So that's why I don't rank them any higher than 10th, Charlton, in the league.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that are picking either Jacksonville or Houston to win the AFC South. I think when you look at why, for Houston, obviously, it's Watson. We could talk about Watt on the defense. And, they can talk about defensive players, but it's really because of Watson's healthy. And then Jacksonville, their defense is off the hook, too. When you think about maybe number 9 with the Baltimore Ravens, some people look at Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City kind of neck and neck. The Baltimore Ravens, obviously, Flacco have to have a good year. But they're more like maybe a wild card team if they can get some consistent play out of Flacco. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they played as well as anybody in the preseason. And if you look at Joe Flacco, he looked rejuvenated. They drafted a quarterback to motivate him.
Yeah.
That's what Lamar Jackson's role was when Ozzie Newsome drafted him, was to motivate Joe Flacco in his final year of his contract to see if there was anything left in the tank.
Yeah.
And Joe's looked like the quarterback from 5 years ago in the preseason, Charlton. And you can't never discredit the defense that they have in Baltimore. Always one of the top defenses. Jim Harbaugh is also on the hot seat, Charlton. Well, excuse me, John Harbaugh. He's on the hot seat. But, you think about it. They were one play away from making the playoffs last year, if not for that miraculous play by Andy Dalton getting, them knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, too, Big C. That's why they say football's a game of inches, but you get first downs by getting yards. But it really is a game of inches, and every little bit matters, especially we may think, well, it's just week 1. But week 1's going to play a part of what happens in week 6 and then 7 and 9, especially when you get around week 14, 15, 16. So they got to get out of the blocks fast. The Kansas City Chiefs, I think their quarterback position with Mahomes is off the hook. I think he'll be one of the guys that highlights a lot of the SportsCenter shows because they love the deep ball, and he definitely has a rocket to get it done. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you also got the league's leading rusher returning in Kareem Hunt. And if he doesn't suffer a sophomore jinx, he's going to really help stabilize that offense with Mahomes getting this is his rookie season, Charlton, because he only played one game last year.
Yeah.
But they got some big help at the receiving corps. You got, I'm trying to think of the kid, number 10, all of a sudden he goes past my mind.
Yeah.
But he can really get deep. They made the signing Cook. They brought Cook in.
Yep.
You got Kelsey at tight end, Charlton. You got a solid offensive line. So, this is a team that can make some waves. And, I mean, they really only have one team they have to worry about in their division because everybody else will be looking up at them in San Diego.
Yeah, well, the Chargers are going to do a lot this year. So when you think about maybe the number 17, New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees by the end of the year, most likely the all-time NFL passing leader. He can really throw the football, and they have a good backup. Bridgewater, I don't think they're going to put Brees under a lot of pressure as far as scrambling. He can get rid of the ball fast, but he is so dominant, but they're still not a pick to win in their division. They're going to challenge for it, but there's still a lot of people, when you look at the NFC South, they're thinking about the Falcons still for some reason. New Orleans is right there with them. I think Carolina can make some noise as well. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a team that has hit a home run in the last 2 drafts. They picked up some defensive players that have really helped. Alvin Kamara was really the offensive surprise last year in the NFL, and Drew Brees has just been consistently consistent his entire career in New Orleans. But this is a team that, when they saw their winning ways last year, and them, just like, when you sit there and see that one play, just like with Baltimore being knocked out of the playoffs, Charlton.
Yep.
It was one play with Minnesota. New Orleans dominated Minnesota.
They did.
If not for that miraculous catch by Diggs, Charlton, at the last play of the game, New Orleans would have been in the NFC Championship game, Charlton, and who knows what might have happened from there. So they were one play away, just like Baltimore, from being a different team, Charlton, at the end of last season.
Well, when you think about that, Big C, one play away, you look at the if you say maybe the sixth best team, you look at the Green Bay Packers and what they do with Aaron Rodgers getting a lot of money. They did lose some players too. Nelson's overplaying for the Raiders. But if I look at people saying who's going to win that division, the Bears got better on defense, but they still need to improve on offense. And when you look at that division in the NFC North, people are thinking about Green Bay. They're also thinking about the Vikings. But if it comes down to who wins that division, do you trust Kirk Cousins or do you trust Aaron Rodgers to win that division? Big C, your thoughts?
I trust Aaron Rodgers, Charlton. Aaron Rodgers has been consistent every year.
Yeah,
he's got some weapons. He has Adams. He has Graham now, Charlton, stepping in the receiving core. That running game is going to be stronger. That offensive line is intact from last year, Charlton. So Aaron Rodgers makes a difference in that division, Charlton. He guarantees you 10 to 11 wins on the season. So I really like where Green Bay is. If they can get some help from their defensive line, they brought over Wilkinson.
Yeah.
If he can just get half of himself in shape and play a decent season, Charlton, they got some young defensive backs in the past couple of years, Charlton, through the draft. Green Bay should win that division.
Well, Big C, when you think about winning, the Chargers haven't done it. I'm still want to call them San Diego because I thought it was bad that they left San Diego to come to Los Angeles. Los Angeles they have a market that loves sports, but they really need one professional football team. And if it's going to be the Rams, let it be the Rams. I know they have that 27 or 30,000 seat stadium they're playing in Carson. They're going to go to the new stadium in Inglewood and share that with the Rams. So I know they're not going back to San Diego, but they should. There should be a team in San Diego. But everyone's picking them to win the West. And they're not looking at Denver. They're not looking at Kansas City. They're not looking at the Raiders. A lot of pressure on Phillip Rivers to win it in a 30,000 seat stadium. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they had a rookie head coach last year. Took him a while to get his plan implemented, Charlton. They were 0-4 to start the season. But they went on a 9-3 run, Charlton, and they made some waves, and they almost made the playoffs. They were 6-1 in their last 7 games. This is a team that's healthy now, Charlton. They got 2 tremendous defensive ends, so they can give you a pass rush.
Yep.
2 outstanding wide receivers, a great running back in Gordon, Charlton. Phillip Rivers knows that the candle was just about burned out on his career, so every game means something to him now, Charlton. And you could see that at the last part of last season, the way he played, Charlton. He had 6 consecutive games where he passed for over 300 yards.
Wow.
Phillip Rivers is a constant professional, Charlton, and I think that they're going to build off of what they did at the end of last season, Charlton, because they have all those players back healthy now.
Yep.
They're going to be a formidable opponent all season long.
Well, I tell you what, they have everything going for them, but they need to play in a bigger stadium. I would rather them go over to the Rose Bowl and play there because it would be better for NFL fans to have a better venue to see. But, they made that decision, so they're going to stick with it. I do want to get maybe the top 4 teams now. It's just opinions. Everybody has their own opinion. But I think we just talked about the Chargers in the top 4. What about Atlanta? I know Atlanta they have built everything to win. And I thought they would have gotten it done last year. They were just a game away with not being able to score 2 touchdowns in Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game. And because of that loss, you get $150 million. So that is encouraging them. If they lose again, maybe he'll get $200 million. Big C, maybe that's their thinking with the Falcons. But they do have a lot of weapons down there. It's just that Ryan's numbers, you won't hear it on mainstream media, but his numbers have declined the last 2 years. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they have all the offensive weapons intact. There's no excuse for the Falcons this year. You got a quarterback that you're giving $155 million to. You got 3 potential all-pro wide receivers, Charlton, on the roster. You have an outstanding tandem of running backs in Coleman and Freeman. Your offensive line, you feel that you've upgraded. You paid a lot of money to your left offensive tackle. Dan Quinn, who came over from Seattle, this is his 4th year now in Atlanta, has a defense that's built on speed, just like Seattle had been when he was a defensive coordinator there, Charlton. Sarkisian now is in his 2nd season as offensive coordinator, so they can't use him as an excuse. This is a team that's built to win now, Charlton, not later. The Super Bowl is in Atlanta this year. It's all a bust this year for the Falcons.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure. Sometimes pressure's bad, sometimes it's good. Pressure for Burt Reynolds smoking the Bandit, it was good. It kept them good old boys from being caught by Sheriff Buford T. Justice. Imagine what he would have done to Burt had he caught them good old boys, Big C, but Burt got away. Number 2, just an opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. There's something about the Rams coming back to L.A. This team is put together. They've opened up the paycheck. You know, the bank account, they probably do the automatic deposits now. I doubt the owner's writing the check. But they've written enough checks to bring in arguably the best line in football now. And I want to get your thoughts if it's enough. They have it offensively. I love their running game. But their defense, they have to be accounted for by everyone they play this year. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is the defense that's going to make waves. I mean, the defensive line is as solid as we've seen. This harkens back to the days of the fearsome foursome that they had in L.A. back in the 80s, Charlton.
Yeah.
When the Rams had the most violent defensive line in the game. You got two solid cornerbacks. And in this pass-happy league, Charlton, that's the first thing you need is two shutdown corners, and they have that. We saw what Jared Goff did in his sophomore year, how he grew up, and that made a lot of waves for the Rams. They brought in another speedy receivers and Brandon Cooks for him, Charlton.
Yep.
You saw what he had last year. He has two solid tight ends, a solid left off at the tackle. Charlton, it's really time for him to step up. They should be the dominant team in the NFC West.
Yeah, I tell you what, they are right there. They remind me of the days. I remember watching Lawrence McCutcheon back in the day, Eric Dickerson, and of course, remember Ferragamo took them to the Super Bowl. I think when they were in L.A. before they went to St. Louis and went to another one and lost to the Patriots, but they had also beaten Tennessee. So this team is loaded this year. L.A. is a front-running city. They need a team that's going to compete for championships, not a team just to be there. They have two in the Chargers, and also the Rams. Should be great football in Los Angeles. Now, a team that everybody loves to hate, and the New England Patriots, with the tuck rule, started their dynasty of winning. That's a game that Brady knows he had that ball stripped away. It was a fumble. It was not a tuck. He walked off the field with his head down, and Gruden was on the sideline saying his ABCs, but he just couldn't figure out which syllables to use. But the Patriots, they're back. Are they still a team? Or is Tom Brady getting too old? He's not on Geritol. He's not using the AARP card. He's still throwing touchdowns and has touchdown rings on his hand like Thanos in the Avengers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you think about this, Charlton. In Tom Brady's career, he's been to 12 AFC championship games.
That's incredible.
Think about that. They got players don't have 12-year careers in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's been to 12 AFC championship games. Only 4 times, Charlton, as a starting quarterback of the New England Patriots has he not been to the AFC championship game.
Yep.
And
yep.
You've been there 12 times, and 8 times you went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So when you think about his accomplishments, it doesn't make any difference who he has in the lineup with him, Charlton. Everybody say, well, New England lost this, and this. Well, they haven't lost the chance to get someplace, Charlton.
Right.
And every time they walk on the field, they're the most intimidating team on the field because you know you have to game plan for everything that they do. You sit there and say, this receiving core, who can they beat? They beat
Yeah.
everybody that they play against.
Yeah.
You look at the running backs. They don't have 1,000-yard rushers, Charlton. They just have guys who play the game plan.
Yeah.
Defense, they have so many integral pieces that interchange with each other, Charlton, is that you just can't concentrate on one guy. You can't say, well, we got to stop this guy. We got a game plan for this guy.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, I keep forgetting the most important part.
Yep.
Guy named Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
What makes him so great is what makes everybody else so upset, Charlton, when they deal with him.
Yeah.
That he lacks emotion.
Yep.
And so he doesn't get this. I mean, you watch him on the sideline of the game, Charlton. They have a turnover. He's not jumping up and down. He's not slamming a clipboard or his headphones down.
No.
Well, let's regroup it and do what we got to do.
Yeah.
They are all the consummate professionals. What he does every year is that he cut players that the media say, how can you get rid of this player?
Yeah.
You traded for him, you signed him as a free agent, and you cut him. You know what that does for everybody left on the roster, Charlton?
What's that?
It's called motivation.
Yeah.
It's called motivation. What he does is shows that nobody's bigger than the team.
Yeah.
I'll let players go. I'll trade players. It's just like when the Raiders traded Mack.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick did the same thing last year with Collins. When he let Collins go. Collins was leading the league in sacks.
Yeah.
He had led the league in sacks the year before. But it's like, I'm not going to get anything for the guy because he's going to go out there in free agency, and I'm not going to pay him the money that he wants.
Yeah.
And he still went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So what he does is he let every player on his roster know, if you play your role and you do your part, we can be successful.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what the media has to say. We're the New England Patriots.
they are the Patriots. The difference I would say between Gruden and also Belichick is the number of championships, the number of times being in championship games, and unlike you know what Gruden just did, he kept his best player, which is Tom Brady. Whether people like it or not, they still win. All they do is win. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer league. When you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C has been more than a decade since the running backs led the NFL in rushing consecutive seasons. 2006 and 2007, LaDainian Tomlinson, now a Hall of Famer, he's the guy that did that. Just get your thoughts on why it's so difficult to see that back-to-back.
Well, Charlton, the game has changed so much over the years. You know, we see the evolution of the quarterback position and the loosening up with defensive backs where you can't beat up on the receivers. LaDainian Tomlinson was a beast when he came out of TCU. And you know, the closest to him right now, when you look at it, is the kid that the Giants drafted.
Yeah.
Barkley out of Penn State. Physically, they look a lot alike. Last year, Kareem Hunt out of Toledo ended up being the leading rusher in the NFL. You know, fourth-round draft pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. He has an opportunity to duplicate that this year, Charlton, with the new quarterback who is going to need a lot of help, Charlton. So I look for Kareem Hunt to challenge that, being the next guy in line to be back-to-back NFC rushing champ, Charlton.
Yeah, and especially now you have a guy like Mahomes who can really throw the ball. I knew Alex Smith could also swing it last year, but I think Mahomes, a little bit different guy to look at, and because he throws farther than Alex did, that might open up more running lanes for Hunt. I really like that thought there, Big C. But I got to get another thought, too, because I love the running game. But a running game is better when you have a great receiving core and a good quarterback. Running backs make quarterbacks look better. Receivers make quarterbacks look better, too. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Antonio Brown, led the Steelers in the league in receptions last season. The last time a receiver did that back-to-back seasons, a guy Calvin Johnson with Detroit in 2011 and 2012, not playing anymore. That's how good you are when you can do it back-to-back. In 99 years of NFL football, and we know we had the mergers back in the 60s with the help of the late Al Davis, but doing anything back-to-back in the NFL when you have the best receivers in the world that are not only competing against you, but sometimes they're lined up opposite side of you too, Big C. And I think that's an amazing number. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at Calvin Johnson, Megatron, I mean, he was just a freak of nature out there at the wide receiver position, Charlton. He had everything. He had size and speed. You had the game plan for him defensively because it was hard to leave him one-on-one because he could beat any defensive back in the game. And you talked about Antonio Brown leading the league last year, Charlton. He also has a chance to duplicate that this year with Le'Veon Bell not reporting to camp. The Steelers are going to have to land heavily on the passing game this year. And Antonio Brown has been that consistent game breaker for the Steelers, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. And one more thing, too, about players that keep playing. I look at the one-handed linebacker, Griffin, to start for Seattle. I think there were so many people that said maybe he shouldn't be drafted, maybe he couldn't cut it in the league. He's going to start now for what used to be the Legion of Boom. But I'm impressed with Shaquem Griffin. You know, this is for people that have some type of handicap or some type of issue. It's not a handicap or a birth defect for him. His mindset is so strong. He doesn't let anything stop him. There are guys that have both limbs, and they find the way to make excuses. I'm impressed with his mentality and how hard he's worked, even against the odds. Just your thoughts for someone that might, you know, you're underhanded, no pun intended, when you have one hand and you're up against big players, fast players that are trying to take you out anyway. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what I find iconic about this, you talked yesterday about the 25th anniversary of Jim Abbott pitching a no-hitter for the New York Yankees, a one-handed pitcher who played and dominated in the major league level. Now we got Shaquem Griffin, Charlton, in Seattle, who dominated on the collegiate level as a linebacker who lost his hand at birth and had to be amputated, Charlton, as a young child.
Yeah.
And he's going to be playing with his brother in Seattle, so I really think this is going to help him out a lot. A lot of players thought he was just a novelty. But he was the fastest linebacker, Charlton, in college football last year.
Yep.
And what was ironic, he was the best defensive player on his college team, was not even invited to the combine. The NFL teams felt that they didn't want to waste the time. They bring in a much lesser athlete than him.
Yep.
But he has proven all the proponents wrong, Charlton, and I really respect Pete Carroll for this, giving the young man a chance.
Yeah.
It goes back to the sayings of Dr. King. The content of the man's character is what you have to look at. And that's what the Seattle Seahawks did in drafting him. His brother vouched for him. He didn't let his brother or his family down. And I think that he's going to make Coach Carroll proud, Charlton, with the play that he has coming into this weekend's game.
Well, I think that's very well said, Big C. And for everybody that thinks about wanting to make a team and how do you actually get out there in the field and get your opportunity to make a team, this kid was a fifth-round pick, 141st overall. There are a lot of guys that get picked way before him and some quarterbacks that we talked about over this season that are going to be sitting on the bench. And they've been made the prodigal sons of these teams that can't miss guys. Their names are out there. You were told all offseason that these guys can't miss. They got to be starters on your team. Some of these quarterbacks that were drafted, again, we wish everybody well. But here's a guy, the 5th round, 141st pick. He's starting. So it's not where you start, it's where you finish, no matter what it is in life. Big C, your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, I'm just so proud of the young man, Charlton, to go out and have the fortitude. I think the changes in the game will really help him, Charlton, that you can't strike with the helmet anymore. He's always been one of those wrap-up players, Charlton, so I think he benefits really from the rule change that's coming into the NFL.
Yeah.
And it just shows, he's going to be side by side with Bobby Wagner, one of the best linebackers in the AFC.
Oh, yeah. I think that's incredible. So congratulations to that young man. Really love to see him play well. Tom Brady led the league in passing yards last season. The previous 3 seasons, when you think about it, the guy that you love down south, maybe because you guys drink from that same moonshine pit that Burt Reynolds drank from, Big C, that you only do it at nighttime. Nobody can find you. Not even Buford T. Justice could stop you good boys from making money. But he led the league outside of Drew Brees doing this thing. I mean, these 2 great future Hall of Fame quarterbacks. But again, Tom Brady's over the hill at 41. I mean, no one can say he's over the hill anymore. What are you expecting out of Tom this year? Will he slack off a little bit? It's hard to even say that until you see it, though, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the preponderance have been out on Tom Brady for the last 5 years. Well, he's got to slow down at some point. Well, last year, all he did was shag another MVP, go to the Super Bowl, set a record for passing yards in the game, Charlton. So it wasn't on him the reason why the Patriots didn't, have back-to-back Super Bowl victories. But when you talk about Drew Brees being the last quarterback to have consecutive seasons leading the league in passing yards, here's a guy who's just a day younger than Tom Brady. He's 40.
Yeah.
Okay? So, when you think about the 2 most dominant passers in the NFL who don't make the most money, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. They're not $100 million quarterbacks, Charlton. They're just quarterbacks who constantly get their teams into the championship game.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. So I love watching greatness. It's one thing to say, you know what, we missed it when it was here, or we criticized it too much. But being able to watch it right now, we're watching the guy that's won more Super Bowls than anybody in the history of the NFL, and his team is still picked to win that division. He's not someone they're trying to hide behind a strong running game or, whatever they're going to try to do, build a stronger defense. He's still a guy that they counted to help win games. I'm really impressed with the way Tom Brady has kept himself spoken. I mean, he hasn't spoken up a lot about many things, but he just shows up and plays. You got to also respect the guy who puts his head down and just plays the game. Like that good old boy said, we play to win the game. He's been doing it for a long time. I got to ask you a question, though. For teams that win a lot, a team that made the divisional playoffs last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers, why are so many players outspoken versus Le'Veon Bell in the Steeler locker room? Oftentimes, when you had something going on in a team, they kept it in the family. They dealt with it, and they didn't let a microphone show up and then throw their brethren under the bus, especially someone who's an all-pro player who's really a reason that they have won. Isn't it something you do in the quietness. And if you really want him to have more money, just give him some of your own money from your paychecks, you guys. Go ahead, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, this is something totally new to me. This is like the unwritten rule of professional sports, is that you don't talk about your teammate's salary, you don't date your teammate's wife, and you don't date your teammate's girlfriend. Other than that, everything is okay.
Have you seen some of Burt Reynolds' movies, Big C? I just want to make sure did Burt have that same message back in the day, Big C? Your thoughts in the movies?
But when you look at what some of the players are doing to Le'Veon Bell,
yeah.
If you're so concerned about, like you said, your teammate's salary, why do you take a pay cut?
Yep.
Don't say come here now and get it next year. You never know in this league, Charlton, if there's going to be a next year. We see careers end all the time.
All the time.
And when you touch the ball as much as Le'Veon Bell does in the Steelers offense, anybody, all they have to do is go back and look. He's averaging 400 touches a year, Charlton, the last couple of years in the league.
That's a lot.
You talk about wearing down a back. That's what you do intentionally so you don't have to pay. You franchise a guy back-to-back years and say, well, if he falls off, then we don't pay him, but we're not going to pay him that third consecutive year, just like they did with your cousin in Washington.
Yeah.
They let him go.
He's not my cousin.
and so that's what's going to happen to Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Bell is not trying to be worn down. He's only going to be 27 years old at the end of the year, Charles.
Yeah.
So, I understand what he's doing. You have to optimize the money while you can get it in. When we look at some of these guaranteed contracts that have been thrown out at guys, Charlton, that are not the caliber of a Le'Veon Bell just because they play quarterback.
Right.
He's been more important to his team than some of these guys with these $100 million quarterbacks, Charlton.
That's true. I mean, they can ask Big Ben to give up some of that money to help us. If you have a strong running game, you have a strong passing game. If they think he's hurt the team, just what they do with the church, they pass that bucket around like they do in the church and give him the money that the team don't want to give him because he's not a dumb guy. And if you really mean it, put your money where your mouth is. I don't think too many teams in the past, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but you talk about a team that's a championship caliber team. I don't remember too many that would take their player, one of their best players, Big C, and throw him under the bus in front of the media, creating an unnecessary target on him. That's not something that's normally talked about, and I just would like to see more players put yourself in his shoes, no pun intended. If you really want him to come back, then offer to give him some of your money, and that might do it for him. Big C, I want to just ask you, it might even be a prank. Where were you when an athlete did the biggest prank that was pulled on another teammate? In locker room, we see sometimes baseball players, after a player has a good game and he's doing the interview, some guys would come up with a pie and smash it in his face. It's just foam or some type of cream. But what does that bring anything to mind? Maybe they're playing a prank on Le'Veon Bell. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the best prank that I ever saw from a teammate is that we had this running back who brought his lunch to work every day, Charlton.
Yeah.
And a couple of days in a row, his lunch came up, disappeared. So he decided to bring himself in a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah.
And that tuna fish sandwich disappeared. So after practice, he made an announcement. He's like, guys, I just want to let you know, whoever stole my lunch, I hope you get sick. That wasn't tuna fish. That was cat food. His lunch never disappeared after that.
Yes, hey, don't knock cat food unless you tried it. I understand what he meant eating that cat food sometimes. When you go through college, Big C, cat foods are pretty much a delicacy back in the day. I want to speak of being a delicacy. Serena Williams and Madison Keys will try to make it an All-American Us ladies finals tonight. Again, that heat and humidity is going to be something they have to deal with. But I love seeing these women compete, and they're competing in one of the best cities in the universe, and they're doing it, and they're letting people know this is not easy. Serena Williams, we take for granted, she's like the female version of Thanos. She has so many trophies, she can put them all on her fingers and toes and still have to put something someplace else, Big C. That's how dominant she's been. Just give me your thoughts, Serena Williams, Madison Keys, what it means to the world of tennis. Even though football's kicking off tonight, there's still a lot of people that are jazzed about this. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I heard this song, and I was thinking about Serena Williams when I heard it. The song said, "Mama's gonna knock you out."
Yeah.
And that's what Serena's been doing to everybody. He was this U.S. Open, Charlton. Mama's been knocking them out.
LL Cool J.
So when you think about what she's done, I mean, to have an all-U.S. finals in the U.S. Open in Charleston. What a great feat. Last year was won by an American, Sloane Stephens, who won it. She was knocked out Charleston a couple of rounds ago. But to have these two great tennis players, Charleston, to face each other, and Serena's still looking to tie the record for Grand Slam victories, Charleston. She needs one more to get to 24.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would just be great for the world of female tennis.
Yeah, I think it's always great for the young women, whether it's WNBA or tennis. The women are really doing their thing. I'm good to see the support happening with the media. I'm fortunate with Big C Sports. We talk about it all the time. There's so many other things we talk about, too. I would have thought that POTUS would have been at that match tonight because he likes to watch Americans compete, make America great again. It would have been a great statement to grandstand if you want a grandstand. And speaking of grandstand, the grandstands will be full in the world of the golf universe. Tiger Woods, the best golfer in the universe. People can say, yeah, but what about Jack's 18, majors? Tiger has 14 majors last I checked. I still say that he will break that record. It may take 3 or 4 years to get there, but he might do it in 3. He could do it in 2. All he needs is 4 more to tie it. I still imagine, what will TV do if Tiger Woods coming down the 18th and he's down by maybe even tied for the lead, and he can get to the 18th with a chance to win that 18th major and the tie Jack's record. What would every TV station and sports broadcaster in the universe be doing on that day? Well, for him doing what he did today in the BMW Championship, he shot 62 the first round. That's his best of the year. I think his best ever in history. I think for what he does or doesn't do for the golf universe, especially for the knuckleheads that say, oh, he'll never win again, I hope they don't watch the day he ties Jack's record. It's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. You heard it first on Big C Sports. And I hope all the people that are anti-Tiger don't watch Big C. Why are so many people watching Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, it was his best round since 1999. To come out and to shoot a 29 on the front nine, Charleston, just an amazing day of golf. Tiger, what he did, he pulled out his old putter, Charleston. He brought the putter out that he had all the success with early in his career and put away some of that new merchandise that, he's been trying to market.
Yeah.
And you go back to what made you great. But, just to see Tiger, here it is. He's been averaging a 71 in the first round the entire year, Charleston.
Yep.
To get down to a 62, and that was tied by Rory McIlroy today, Charleston. You had two golfers tied at 62. That's great for golf because there was a time when people thought that Rory McIlroy would be the heir apparent to Tiger Woods.
Right.
And now he's trying to stay up with Tiger Woods. But, to come out and to have the gallery that was following Tiger Woods today, it wasn't just a great round of golf for Tiger Woods, Charleston. It was a great round of golf for the PGA. It was a great round of golf for television. It was a great round of golf for marketing of the sport, Charleston. When you think about this could propel them into East Lake, into the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
Not only that, Charleston, you're going to have people watching the FedEx Cup. You're going to have people watching the Ryder Cup, Charleston.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods does nothing but resonate golf. When we think about a couple of weeks ago, when the ratings were up 73% when he was in the hunt, Charleston, when he shot a 64 on the final day of a tournament, and the ratings were up 73%. Think about where the ratings will be this weekend, even tomorrow.
Oh, amazing.
I mean, Tiger Woods is single-handedly, Charleston, going up against college football and the NFL this weekend.
Yeah.
If Tiger Woods had not shot a 62 today, would people be talking about golf for Saturday and for Sunday with the opening week of the NFL? Think about that. That's how big Tiger Woods and Nike is, Charleston.
Yeah.
They're the two biggest things going on this weekend outside the NFL, Charleston.
Well, maybe he's telling Nike, wait a minute, you're giving all that money to Cap, making him your big guy for the advertising. How about me? I just do it too all the time, Big C. I think about what Tiger's meant. You think about the FedEx Cup push with the win in the Dell Technologies Championship. Bryson DeChambeau, he extended his lead, as well as Vijay Singh. They joined the only two players to win the first 2 FedEx Cup events. And you think about that. In the top 30 standings after this weekend's tour, it's going to be in Atlanta in the 22nd and I think 20th through the 23rd. But you think about that. DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jason Day, You have Fleetwood. You have so many players that are up there in the FedEx Cup rankings. Tiger Woods does this thing on a Thursday, and he's the top guy in the sports universe. Everybody wants to see it. The advertisers want to see it. We talked about Tom Brady, the guy like Thanos who has so many rings on his finger. Well, if Tiger Woods was getting rings instead of majors, instead of trophies, he would need to put some of those trucks and those rings on his fingers and his toes. 14 majors, no one's done that but Jack, and we see it happening now. So again, golf is great, especially when you have great players playing it. But I do want to close today's show with, of course, we want to offer our thoughts and prayers to the Burt Reynolds family. And he made so many people enjoy going to the movies again. He was a great actor and a former football player at Florida State. But one of the guys that motivated me for getting into broadcasting is Irv Cross. And the former NFL analyst, played football with the Eagles and the Rams back in the 60s. He's 79 years old. Well, he mentioned that he's dealing with some dementia. And because of all the hits he took back in the day, especially the helmets were not the same. But he says he's going to donate his brain for study of CTE when that day comes. He doesn't want to drive anymore because he feels a little bit of decline. And I just want to get to all the thoughts for the kickoff of football. He joined the press box when there were not a lot of African Americans allowed to even pursue a career in broadcast media. And you had, I think there was Jane Kennedy, who was I believe she was a Miss America candidate. And just the time that he was in sports, there was a big, I guess, a gap between him being on the scene and so many other men of color getting that opportunities. Big C, your thoughts on Irv Cross?
You know, Irv Cross he was the first African-American, Charlton, to be a game day analyst, Charlton, in the pregame show, along with Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek Snyder, and then they were followed by Jane Kennedy to be the first African-American.
Yeah.
And the first female to have a co-host spot, Charlton, on a pregame show. But he was a trailblazer in many ways. He was an all-pro defensive back with the Philadelphia Eagles, Charlton. You know, just a great individual who opened the door, and he's one of those forgotten members, Charlton. It's just like many young athletes. They don't know who opened the door for them to have an opportunity to play these sports, to come out of college early and get a paycheck. Irv Cross opened the door for many African Americans, Charlton, to get into the broadcast booth, to get into the pregame show, Charlton.
Yeah.
He was a trailblazer, even though he's not thought about in that way. Many guys today, Charlton, don't even know who he is.
No.
But he opened the door and he created tremendous opportunity. It's unfortunate that he's suffering, like many former athletes, Charlton, with this horrific disease of CTE, Charlton, and dementia. As much as football wants to say we want to make the game safe, Charlton, you can't make the game safe until you take the helmet out of the game, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's a part of it too, because back in the day when he played, and I believe they played on dirt in Philadelphia. They may have played on grass when he played there, but I know when they opened that new stadium, Veterans Stadium, their AstroTurf wasn't like the AstroTurf that you have now, where it's more plush and it's more like a chewed-up car tires, etc. They had, I believe, cement and then the padding on top of that. So not only did a lot of players suffer the CTE from banging helmet to helmet, it was oftentimes as they were thrown to the ground. It was not a soft cushion the way you have on today's game. But playing with that also, a lot of players have knee issues, they have hip issues, having hip replacement, knee replacement, a lot of other ligament damage that comes along with that. So he played the game at his highest level, and then like a lot of guys today, he was that trailblazer, like you said, Big C, for the broadcast booth that opened that door for so many African Americans. And for that, I will always be grateful, because when you see that, Big C, it gives you hope that you can too. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as you mentioned, if you look at the players of the 70s and 80s who played on that horrific AstroTurf, and I had too many falls and hits on that, Charlton, it was concrete underneath, asphalt underneath. It was not a giving or forgiving surface. And it wore out, and it wasn't replaced as efficiently as it is today, Charlton. It wasn't rolled up. It was put down, and it was down forever.
Yeah.
There were seams in it. There were many horrific knee injuries, Charlton, elbow injuries, shoulder injuries that came from that hard surface. But with Irv Cross, Charlton, being the trailblazer, emotionally and socially in this industry for so many people who look like him, Charlton. And like I said, when you look at a Broadcasters Hall of Fame, Charlton, he should be one of the people there for doing what he did to open the doors for many.
I agree. And he also just did it with such class. He was very good at what he did. But he may not know this, but he's one of the reasons that I wanted to get into broadcast when I went to college. So always and forever will be grateful. For tonight's kickoff, NFL football's back. There's so many issues. Do we salute the flag? Do we stand for freedom of speech? Do we really care about the lives of black men when they're not playing sports? I think for all of us, it's okay to disagree. It's always okay to have respect for each other, no matter what our opinions are. I love this country. I think sports will unite our country more than anything else in the universe. Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, it all starts tonight with the 99th year of the NFL's having a kickoff, Charlton. It's a great time of the year. Hopefully, this will bring a lot of solidarity in this country, Charlton, and we will concentrate on the game. I know that Nike is in the mainstay of everybody's mind tonight, Charlton, with Colin Kaepernick. Its advertisement is as big as the game. But still, let the games go on.
Let the games begin and let the games go on, especially every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.